Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we are currently taking the Piers docking module up to the ISS, and we need to warp forward a little bit. We've got a bit of an inclination change ahead of us, but not all that much of an inclination change, to be honest. We're in a decent orbit here. It's not perfect, but it'll do. And it's going to be about a 6-second burn. Okay, so we can definitely warp forward a ways here. About another 10 seconds. And 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. Phenomenal. So a 6-second burn here. We've got lots of delta V in this, of course. We expect nothing less. We overshot that a little bit, I feel like. But 0.0 looks good. So, yep, that's absolutely fine. Let's look for an encounter here. What would it look like if we did it out over here? That is off by a fair amount. However, this is not. That looks solid right there. That is a great encounter. It's not perfect, but it is pretty good. No doubt about that. Now, we could ditch this, but I think what we're going to do is we're going to bring it with us. We'll have fuel left over. No doubt about that. This is turning very slowly. This is turning very, very slowly, and that is because our only reaction wheel is a small inline reaction wheel. That's potentially a problem, but of course this is not designed to be hauling this entire way. So we'll see what we want to do about that. Like I said, we could ditch it here. It has technically achieved its purpose at this point, but I think we're not going to. I want to use it to refuel what we've got on the station. I don't know if we actually have any lack of fuel there, but we'll take it up to the station and we'll refuel any lack of fuel that we might have at the station. So that'll be absolutely fine. This burn is, of course, going to be in about 31 minutes, so we're going to need to warp around now that we've finally gotten into position here. And this will be absolutely fine here. We'll just want to line up these windows pretty much with what direction and we want them to face, right? But this is not anything too major as far as this goes. I think that's just our debris that we jettisoned a bit ago. It's in basically the same orbit as us, but a little bit different of an inclination. So that's absolutely fine. We've got 50 seconds, 40, 30, 20, 10, and 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. So this'll do. This will definitely get us close enough. What's our thrust to weight here? 1.32? Okay. Noted. We're going to have a fairly close interaction here on our first pass here. So overshooting by 0.1 meters per second is fine. Yeah, 2.5 kilometers. So we're not going to have to do that much of correction. We're going to be coming in from a... Hang on a moment. We're going this direction. I was thinking we were going this way. This makes more sense now. Okay. I thought we were on the other side of the orbit for some reason. So we're going to need to come in over here or so. That'll be fine. Actually, I canceled it again. We're going to come in about here or so. And we're going to switch over into target mode. We can see that we're definitely going to want to head around to relative velocity minus. And that's going to take some time, so we're just going to rotate right on around. Where is the station right now? It should be, like, out from us, I think, a little bit, right? Yeah, basically directly out. I saw it there as we exited the map, but lost it again. Okay. Well, we're going to get ourselves a... This needs to be pushed. Hang on. We're going to get ourselves a little bit of a corrective burn in here. We were going the wrong direction there, but there we go. Small correction here. Looks good. 150 meters per second now. So let's just point right at relative velocity minus, which is going to be pointing directly away from the target, which is down over there. There it is. Okay, we got there in the end. Cool. So we are 17 kilometers away from the station here. We know that we can slow down relatively quickly here. Let's just get into position there. I want to see 0.5 kilometers. Okay, yeah, that's reasonably fine. So we're going to warp in a little bit here to around here or so. And we can go to kill rot and we can begin a braking burn, but I'm also doing a little bit of correction here. Okay. So something about like that. And we're just slowing this right on down. Oh, this thing really doesn't like to turn. Okay. Gotcha. That does make sense. It's not designed to be in this situation, right? So let's move this over to relative velocity minus. We're moving in pretty quickly right now, and so we're just bringing this right on down. But this really doesn't like to turn. So that's fine for now. Cool. Right about there or so for the moment. And we're going to want to be docking on the Russian side of the station. So that is going to be, I believe, out on this side over here. And we're going to want to dock up over here on the nadir port, which is the one going this way. So that's a reasonable direction. We're still moving in at about 5 meters per second. We're not really close enough yet, but this is obviously not the point we want to be at right now. So that's going to be the Quest Joint Airlock right there, I'm pretty sure. And this is definitely the Russian side over here. This, I believe, is the docking port that we want. Okay, so we're going to go into Kilrot. And I'm just very, very gently pushing us over there. Going to overshoot it a little bit in hopes of going this direction ever so slightly, but we're going to need to see where this directionality is taking us. And then just very gently nudge it with our RCS, most likely. Okay. Yeah. So, to that end, I'm going to put us on Kilrot. And we're moving this direction a little bit. There we go. That looks reasonable for now. Now we're going to bring it back a bit. And we're going to want to go in the down direction. So down here. Cool. And maybe a little bit more this way. There we go. That's looking like decent directionality. No problem whatsoever there. Now I'm going to bring us back over to going virtually straight ahead here. And we are going to come to a bit of a halt, although maybe not quite yet. We're a little close here still. I do want to bring this down pretty much to a halt. Controls are slightly reversed from where I expect them to be. Okay, there we go. Now we need to head a bit away from the station. So about there or so. And we're going to have to head far enough away. Maybe until this is like 15 meters or so. So it's 11 right now, going at 0.2 meters per second. 12 meters. This is probably about far enough. Let's bring that to a halt. Okay. Now I'm going to turn RCS off. We are going to control from here, and we're going to point at the target. So we're going to head right on over. And we may need to change our overall angle of attack a little bit here. We'll see. But so far, this is looking reasonable. Like I said, this thing turns really slowly with all of this excess weight over here. We're not intended to have this, right? But we can refuel anything that we need to over here, and that'll be absolutely fine. Now, we're eventually going to need to move the Canadarm, and that's going to be an exciting prospect. We'll see exactly how we are going to handle that. I have an idea. Hopefully it works. We'll see. Okay, so we're lining up here, approximately there. So we're definitely at a bit of an angle here. Let's rotate right on around like so. And we're drifting downwards a little bit. So. Oh, controls are like inverted from what I'm expecting. Okay. That's really awkward. I want to head in towards the target a bit here. And let's just do something about like that. Let's just get this docked up. It's going to be a little bit awkward at this angle, but we can certainly head down this way just a wee bit to straighten that angle out. About like that. And there we go. We are docked up. Phenomenal. So that's the Piers docking module ready to go. Now, I want to have Bill, EVA, and his mission here is going to be to change this strut work, right? So we are going to strut from here to here, and then from here to approximately here, although it doesn't like that situation. I guess we may have to do this strutting a little differently. Yeah, it really doesn't like strutting there. Okay. We'll just set it up to be like there for now. And then we'll strut from here to here. I do see some shaking brewing up here. And finally, we'll strut from here, I think, over to here. Okay. So we'll hop in there. There we go. And we're on kill rot right now. We can just stop that for the moment. Okay. Where are we seeing significant weaknesses in these joints, though, is an interesting question. Where are we seeing the shaking originate from? Well, that I don't know yet. But there's absolutely nothing else for the Soyuz to do here other than deposit any remaining fuel. And I believe, like I said, that we probably don't have any lack of fuel here. I think we are fully fueled at this moment. I suppose we could take some liquid fuel, but there's no point in having liquid fuel here if we don't have any oxidizer, right? So I think that there's no real issue with any of our fuel at the moment. So we can just bring this straight on down. We're now ready to head back, and I do want Bob to transfer over. So Bob should be currently in this lab, right? Yes. So Bob, you can transfer over to the pomegranate reentry module, and we are absolutely going to be undocking here. We're absolutely done here already, and we are out of here. There's very little that needed to be done on this particular flight other than delivering this particular docking module, which that was very, very straightforward. No real problem whatsoever there. So we're going to turn RCS off, and we're going to go over to orbital retrograde. And we'll just make sure that that's a safe direction to burn in before we burn there. It should be quite safe. There should be no problem whatsoever here. Yeah, this is okay. So off we go, and we are, of course, lowering our periapsis height down, and we kind of don't care where we lower it to, right? This thing can land in water, it can land on land, just like the shuttle. It really doesn't matter. So we could just bring this down to something like 10 kilometers and just be like, we're going to fall where we're going to fall. One thing to check is that going to be on the dark side? It is. I prefer to land on the light side for YouTube compression purposes, but it's probably okay. So at this point, we can jettison this. It's going to burn up. There we go. And now we're on the Soyuz that we should have been this whole time. Unfortunately, we can jettison this as well. This is an expendable component, and that just goes away like that. And now we come in with just our pomegranate reentry module. So obviously this is overbuilt, right? There's no doubt about that, but it's absolutely okay. We are on our way home. So we're just going to be parking in surface velocity minus here. And downward we go. This is going to be a very basic reentry compared to the space shuttle. No doubt about that. The Soyuz is a lot simpler of a machine to fly. That's for sure. But the space shuttle does reuse more components, so there is that. That's something, anyway. So we're just going to come on down here. We're going to decelerate at a rather rapid rate. Because of our steeper angle of attack, that will decelerate quite a lot more quickly than the shuttle as well. Of course, we're not trying to do any fancy gliding or anything like that. There's no major recovery here. It's just a parachute. We do, however, want to move this guy up. That should definitely be up here. There we go. We are currently on a trajectory to land over land, I think. Which, this is intended for a land landing, ultimately. But let's just get these chutes out. It doesn't really matter. Drogues are not going to change things very much. This is going to be a water landing, actually. So that's absolutely fine. No problem whatsoever here. Downward we go. So we'll just splash on down. Nice and quick. So the next question, of course, is what is the next component that goes up? because this one was a quick one. No doubt about that. Taking a look at the next component here, that is going to be the S0 truss. Okay. So, the S0 truss is a pretty significant component here. It's going to result in moving our current P6 truss segment. There's no doubt about that. So, it's going to be a pretty significant component to put in here. I think. Am I misunderstanding how this connects in? Perhaps. It was attached on the top of the Destiny laboratory module. It's used to route power to the pressurized station modules and conduct heat away from the modules to the S1 and P1 trusses. The S0 truss is not docked to the ISS, but is connected with 4 module-to-truss structure stainless steel struts. So it's just strutted into place. Okay, that's exciting. That is absolutely exciting. Okay, so my read on it is possibly going to be a little bit suspect here, but we'll take a look at that in just a moment after we have splashed down here. Wow, we're still quite high up. Okay, let's physics warp down. I expected we would have splashed down by now, but okay, downward we go. So this truss segment is going to be interesting. I'll have to try to suss out exactly how this works. And I'll probably fail. But that's okay. We are only approximating, after all. So downward we go here. Splash down. And we'll recover this vessel. Of course, we'll need to get our payment, and we will do that. But taking a quick look at the strut here, or rather, not the truss here. So what do we have? We've got this guy, right? So that is this fella right here. So we can see that that's actually attached on top of the Destiny module, as it said. And I believe that that is connecting here as well, connecting into the Z1 truss segment. And then it's just like placed over top of the Destiny module, I believe. So we don't actually end up moving the P0 truss here. No. I'm looking at it wrong. Because this thing is still here. That's not related to the S0 truss at all. Okay. Things are going to get mildly awkward here, I think. So we've got the S0 truss connecting to the lab here. So this would be the Destiny laboratory here, right? Interesting. So this forms the central backbone of the space station. It gets attached on top of the Destiny laboratory module. And then I want to take a look here at what it is with the S1 truss. So this is the S0 truss with a Canadarm attachment point here. And this is where the Canadarm actually should be attached for right now. So this is really just a module that gets attached on here. I think we're probably going to end up using a grab arm for that, and then we'll strut it into place. We're going to need a module here, or rather a docking port here for the Canadarm, because we need a docking port on one end just due to the way that KSP ends up working. But it looks like this is largely a flat structure here. Well, it's flat on one end, and then it's kind of like trapezoidal, right? So that's definitely very, very interesting. No doubt about that. And then the P1 truss is basically, that is a much lower resolution version. Okay. The P1 truss is basically the same thing, but inverted. So it goes on the other side. It looks like the S1 truss does have a pretty large radiator panel here. Okay, and it might have multiple radiator panels. That is definitely something that we should figure out. But for now, I don't think that the S0 truss does. So, it's used to route power to the pressurized station modules from the power modules, right? And conduct heat away from the modules to the S1 and P1 trusses. The S0 truss is not docked, but is connected. Yes. Okay. So this is the alternate configuration of the truss here. This is largely what we have right now, right? This is the alternate configuration of the Z1 truss. So this is pretty much where we're at right now, as far as the station goes. Fair enough. So at this point, what we need to do is we need to get this S0 truss in. Okay, gotcha. So that seems absolutely fine. We need to get our payment for the last mission. Absolutely. Let's grab our cash here. There we go. And we're going to hop into the VAB. So as far as making this truss goes, that's going to be interesting. So this forms the backbone of the station. Let's open up our Z1 truss space shuttle here, just because it's conveniently located at the bottom. And we're going to call this the S0 truss module. Okay, so we're going to open up our cargo bay here, and we're going to get rid of the Z1 truss. That'll get out of here. We're going to get rid of this clampetron. We're going to get rid of this engine plate as well. Okay. So with that all out of there, we can then set this target angle at 90 and begin working on our S1 truss. So this will mostly be a structural component. There's not all that much actually to it beyond the structural bits, right? We'll need like a docking port at each end, and it'll need a grab arm extending out in... Functionally, it's going to end up being in this direction, right? So towards the nadir of the station. Okay, and then it's got this, like, support structure out over here. I don't know if we'll include that. Probably not. So I'm thinking a grab arm that is, like... just looking at how this is laid out here. Yeah, dead center would be centered on the lab. Okay, so a centered grab arm that comes down over here, and then we would strut it in at each of the sides over here after we've grabbed on. Then I would want a docking port out here because we're going to dock things up to it. I don't think they're actually docked in reality, but that is how we're going to do it within the confines of KSP. So that's going to be the overall concept here. And this thing should be roughly the same length as the Destiny module. So the Destiny module, let's actually not save this. Let's load up the Destiny module quick so that we can figure out the Destiny lab here. So we can figure out exactly how long this thing should end up being. It should be roughly the same as this, right? So this would be an angle of 90 degrees, right? So it'd be about the same size as this, maybe a little bit longer. Noted. Okay, I'm going to go back to the S0 truss now that we know approximately the size that we're going for. Did that not get saved as the S0 truss? Oh, I thought I saved it. Okay. Well, we're going to take that on out of here for now. And we're going to have this be the S0 truss segment. If I can type. Segment. There we go. Okay, so structurally. How are we going to put this thing together? It's very much trapezoidal in reality. I'm not sure how realistic we can get that. So in terms of the structural components that we have here, this is basically what it comes down to, right? We've got the modular girder small adapter here, and then we could take that out to modular size. So that would be the size of the modular girder segment, right? And that's not amazing in terms of size. It should definitely be a little bit taller than that. So we may need to expand it out a little bit. But it very much is a structural segment, no doubt about that. So the idea behind that, in theory, could be trapezoidal, but the trapezoid goes like that. Okay, so I want the grab arm to be up here at the top. We would probably just use like a 1p4. This is a hypothetical positioning for now. We're probably not going to finish this right now, but this is going to be a bit of a complicated build just because of the shape of the thing. So I think that what we're going to do is we're going to put on our grabbing unit junior for now. And it would be something like this, right? So it would grab on like that. It would be fully extended and it would grab on. And then we would just pull it in. And then we would strut it once it was at this extension, right? So this is going to need to be a little bit taller than this, for sure. at least that wide. And this is going to be the vertical section of it. Now, this Clampetron docking port should actually be inverted. If I can get that to go on here. Like that. Okay, so it should be inverted like that. And then I would want this to be about this size, in theory. Now, one thing to consider is when we fold this in, yeah, when we fold it in, it's going to be a problem. So this is really thinking about this in terms of segments. This thing is 5 segments long. So it would be something like this, and then this arm would, in theory, end up going here, like this. And we would dock it in like that, which would be mildly awkward, but remember, we can always, like, adjust the angle here. Okay, so it would be something like this. And as far as the actual shape of the thing goes, when looking at it head on, it's pretty much rectangular. So it would be roughly 3 modular girder segments tall. So if this is a center modular girder segment, which it probably shouldn't be, if this is a center modular girder segment, it would go 1 here and then 1 here, right? But yeah, because of clipping, this should actually go approximately like that. So we're going to need something with 3 evenly spaced attachment points, and we'll strut those together out here in the construction. And so that's going to end up being interesting to see how we do that. I think that the best way to do it would probably be if we had a modular girder hub here and we attached like this, then a cubic octagonal strut, no, micronode? I think that's too small. I do think that that's too small. Okay. How do we want to pull this off then? So we need these to be in a straight line, one to another. And we could use modular girder segment XLs. Those are, or even XXLs. This is what, 6 of them? Yeah, that's 6 of them. So that's a little bit more than what I want here. Okay, so we're gonna need a straight line. I mean, a modular girder segment XL here would hypothetically work. So that would end up being like this, right? But then we would need to rotate it. And it would end up being, I would want this to have snapping on. Thank you very much. So it would snap to here. And then we would set its position to be more like here. Then we would have each one of these go in about here. And then we can get rid of these for now. I think we're going to have to get rid of the concept of the trapezoidal component. But we can do something like, I'm trying to duplicate these. Apparently I'm releasing Alt too quickly. Okay, so something along the lines of that. Now I'm going to snap those into place. Okay, that didn't get snapped exactly where I wanted it. I want this to go about there. Approximately here or so. But this is definitely not exactly where I want it. Okay, so this guy would end up... Nope, right here. This guy would end up moving up a bit, and each of these would need to be snapped into place as well, wouldn't they? That's going to be mildly awkward. Okay. So it wants to do it kind of like this, where they're kind of floating apart from each other. So we're going to have to move these in like 1 snap point, each and every one of them. And that means that we should reduplicate this, right? So that means that we should get rid of that, get rid of this, and reduplicate. Approximately like that. And then the question becomes, do we actually want this thing over here? I mean, the answer to that is largely no, we don't. It's a little longer than we need, so ultimately, maybe we want to go down to only having 2 modular girder segments here. That might be the best way to go, actually. So that would end up being like this. We would rotate that, and it would go right there. It could then be moved out and a little bit down, about like that. And then we would bring this guy in like that. Then we would look to put in these modular girder segments. One there-ish, one there-ish, and one there-ish. Approximately like that, although they'll need to be snapped into position, right? So we can do that, that, and that. Okay, it feels like there's a little bit more space up top than on bottom. We could certainly consider moving this guy without snapping up to about there or so. And then we could also make sure that these are all insulated, which I think would look a little bit more like what we're going for here. Now we're going to have to make sure that these are all strutted together, and it's going to be a whole thing to try to figure out exactly where all of these bits go, right? So we may want to consider having more modular girder segments out over here, just to make it symmetrical. So that would end up being one approximately here. Approximately. It'll need to get snapped into place. And then moved like that. Just so that we're basically symmetrical. Then that's all going to have to be strutted together. I feel like this is still a little too far down. That's better. Okay. So I'm going to run a strut from here to here. From here to here. There we go. And I'm going to make sure that these are strutted together down here. Ooh, it did not like that. Yeah, it doesn't like it. Okay. Fair enough. Something's odd here. Oh, I know what it is. This guy needs to get snapped back into place. Like that. Okay, there we go. So in theory, that would do the trick, approximately. We're going to have to get rid of the concept of the trapezoidal component, right? But that's fine. Now, what we need over here is that docking port. So this actually does have to go this direction. Like that. Then we bring in this guy. Approximately like so, although that's definitely not connected where we want it to be. Okay. It really doesn't want to connect like this. I'm going to undo it, and we're going to have to flip around our docking port with our engineer once we get out there. That's probably fine. We're probably okay with that. We want this to connect in right here, right? But I kind of want to clip this in a little bit to about here or so. Something about like that. Okay, now we're going to need a docking port out over here. I want that to be roughly centrally located. It'll be a docking port junior. That looks like a good position right there, but let's snap it. There we go. So right about there, and this docking port will need to be moved. But that would be approximately our S0 truss segment. Now let's take a look at what that looks like if it's folded in. Are we clipping out? We are not. Well, we are down here. In that case, yeah, we are clipping with our grab arm. We could assemble the grab arm on site, though. So what we would end up doing is just bringing this grab arm with us and just having it be, you know, hanging out over here like that. So the grab arm would get assembled on site. We'd need to assemble this docking port a bit, and that would do the trick. It is past time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we're going to see about lifting this slight monstrosity up to the ISS. It should go okay, I guess. We're probably going to need to strut it in, though. I really, really should put a strut right here. At least one. Just like that. That is a bare minimum strut. I'm going to do one additional down over here, and then one additional right here, just to make sure. Okay. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Shadow Wolf, Andy McGar, Spartan News, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12UK, Kentogan, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time. The birds are going to be very sudden again as we load into the KSC. There they are.